You are Locked On Tigers POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Detroit on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, more fun baseball to talk about. How lucky are we to get to watch this terrible baseball team? And not only do we get to watch them, we get to listen to the broadcast through a speakerphone and a tin cup because there's a power outage at Comerica Park. Welcome one, welcome all. Fired up to be with you on a live Locked On Tigers postcast. I am your host, Jake Riepma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma. And more of the same as the Tigers fall to the Blue Jays 9-1. But don't anybody dare say they weren't competitive. We don't want to upset our manager, AJ Hinch, because apparently being outscored by 17 runs over the course of 3 games against the Royals, that was competitive baseball. So 9-1, outscored by 8, very, very competitive. But great show lined up for you. As always, I'll try not to get too upset. I'm already simmering down a little bit, but we'll talk about that power outage at the ballpark because it's just like this franchise and I know it's nobody's fault, but it's one thing after another. Of course, there was a power outage at Comerica Park and we couldn't watch the game. We'll talk about Jack Flaherty's outing. He was all right, but it's just more of the same, no offense, and we'll bring back studs and duds because we haven't done that for a couple of days. But welcome everybody into the comments on the YouTube stream. Fired up to be with you. We'll get to those comments in just a second because I love making it interactive. But just as a reminder, we appreciate you making Locked On Tigers postcast your destination following the conclusion of Tigers games every single day. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's show also made possible by Game Time. That's right. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but Game Time is the best ticketing app, the only ticketing app that you'll need. So let's get into it, and I don't even know where we want to start at this point. I think Christopher's comment on YouTube is a great place to start. I would love to know where we go from here. Christopher, my friend, you and me both, man. You and me both. I've got no more answers. Matt Chapman had another home run today. My good buddy Jeff Rieger on X is always keeping us up to date when, guys that this front office just didn't want to take a shot on continue to rake. There's a lot of X beef going on by some of my former colleagues at 97 The Ticket today about the Tigers. Caputo and Costa and Rieger all getting into it, but I won't partake in any of the Twitter wars that we used to call them. I guess they're called X wars now. But my biggest beef with the Tigers, it shouldn't actually, maybe this isn't biggest beef, but it really, really bothered me when AJ Hinch had the audacity to correct somebody that said they weren't. I don't remember who asked the question, but in the post game yesterday, talking about that they weren't competitive. And he said, I have an exception with that. We were competitive. What? We're competitive. You lost by 17 runs in 3 games. Like it was 10-3, 8. You weren't competitive. That's just 8. It was 8-3 yesterday. Again, you lost by 5, 5, and 7. It wasn't competitive baseball. And then today, again, it's not even close. I know it was close until the bullpen continues to stub their toe and, not be very good. The bullpen in general gave up 6 runs, 3 in the 8th, and then 3 more in the 9th. So not good. Nothing's good. Nothing is good with this team. And we got a lot of people checking in. So I'll continue to run through these comments because, again, I love making it interactive. I love commiserating with each and every one of these Tigers fans that unfortunately have to suffer through these games night in and night out. And I don't know how much longer we can take it. This team is not particularly fun to watch. There's not any personality you're drawn to. The manager has to be the smartest guy in the room. We can't dare question any of his starting lineups. And anytime you do, you get met with resistance, how you have even the thought to even question what he does. And they lose a lot of games, and that they're quickly sinking, not to the basement of the AL Central. That spot has been reserved by the White Sox the whole season. But I mean, sinking to the point of that gap becoming insurmountable. Other comments coming in. Born Cool, call 1 or 2 of these kids up from Toledo now, do something. Yeah, we've been saying that. there was a roster move that we'll get to later in the program, as we've got some time, because we touched on a little bit of it with what happened with Alex Lang yesterday. And he was, coincidentally, probably not a coincidence, sent down today. So, all right. Adam Collum checking in. I don't know why AJ let Jack pitch in the 7th. If he would have went to the bullpen, it could have been different. Yeah, Flaherty was clearly out of gas in the 7th, because that single that went to, it goes down in the books as a single to deep right field, but Vogelbach smoked that ball. I mean, that's out of most ballparks. I know the fences have been brought in a little bit at Comerica, but he absolutely tattooed that ball. And then the next batter, not the very next batter, but later in the inning, Dalton Varsho hits that 2-run homer. And I know we've talked about this before, but 2 runs scored in a tie game in the 7th inning, you just feel like you lost the game. And in theory, you have 9 very important outs left to be had, but with how bad the offense is, 9 outs and having to get 2 runs over the course of 3 innings just, again, feels insurmountable, and just an impossible task. And that's disheartening. And that's where we get into, you can't really slice it up any other way of what makes this team difficult to watch and not fun in a lot of different ways. And here we are. It's May 23rd, and I don't know. I got the double palms up again. The 2 games that they won in Arizona against the Diamondbacks, that just seems like a very, very distant pass. I believe they're 6-14 in the month of May, if my calculation is correct. They're not good. I'll tell you that. And again, as it continues to get worse and worse, I don't know what to say. I don't know. I'm lost a little bit. And I mean, they're 3-7 in their last 10 games. The Guardians are really good. They're 9-1 in their last 10. Royals are 8-2. The Twins have pretty much fallen off, but they're at least above 500. And then you've got the Tigers there at 23-27 now. And again, they're not going to be in the basement of the AL Central because that belongs to the Chicago White Sox. But other comments coming in, Christopher saying, where's the front office? Yeah, they don't care is what it feels like. And we've got that rule. We're not going to care more than the manager. We're not going to care more than the front office. And it's a shame because Tiger fans deserve better. Adam with a comment here. You can't have one guy carry the offense. I feel so bad for Wenzel Perez. We need better bullpen arms. Foley can't pitch. And every day he needs a setup man. Yeah, there's the list of problems with this Tigers team, top to bottom, is just a mile long. And it is interesting how Wenzel Perez has emerged as the only big league player, it seems like, at least consistently. I mean, Riley Green's hit a struggle. I mean, Torque is, we're not going to go down open that can of worms with Torque. Another tough night. I mentioned Riley Green, Matt. It's just a bunch of utility players. Maybe Kerry Carpenter, you could make the case would play on another team, but other than that, these guys, they're just not playing for any other teams because they're not good. It's a collection of scrubs and on the offensive side and the position players. And, we mix and match all these utility players and have all these different lineups that we can throw at you, but there's a problem. None of them are good. And this team's not good. And we've got a manager that maybe, I've never been a manager of a big league team, but I just don't get why he has to insult our intelligence and say they were competitive. That really, really bothered me because they weren't. Let's call it what it is. Why can't there be, at least an acknowledgement of the reality of the situation? So there you have it. We're going to continue to break down the start of Jack Flaherty as well as that power outage. That was really nice. I'm sorry everybody had to suffer through that. And then we will wrap it up with studs and duds. Don't go anywhere. We are just getting started on this live edition of Locked On Tigers POSTCAST. All right, my friends, I am fired up to tell you all about Game Time. That's right, the best ticketing app in the entire world because you know what? They reward procrastinators like you and me. That's right, you can get last minute deals on tickets to live events and not just a day at the ballpark because quite frankly, I don't even know if you'd want to go to a Tigers game. I think there's a lot better options in Detroit, maybe a concert, maybe a comedy show, anything, any live event. Game Time has got you covered. They do these things called flash deals where you can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event. You can also buy tickets for an event even after it's started up to an hour. So let's say you live close to the ballpark or you live close to whatever the venue is, you're watching it, and the event or the game has already started. You have up to an hour to find those last minute deals. They also have zone deals. You can save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. I also love the all-in pricing part because we've all used those ticketing apps where you think you've got a great deal, a great steal, and then fee after fee after fee. And before you know it, it's not that good of a deal. And with the all-in pricing, you can see exactly what you're going to play or what you're going to pay, all on a very easy to use app. That's this nice high resolution photo of the view of your seat. So there's no deception there as well. And your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. That's a guarantee. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but create that account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute ticket deals, lowest price guaranteed. Today's show also made possible by FanDuel. That's right. It's the winner take all time in the NBA and the NHL. The playoffs, the conference finals are underway. The Mavs took a 1-0 series lead last night over the Minnesota Timberwolves. And, you got the Celtics taking on the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference final. Also on the ice, you got the Stars in the Western Conference Finals against the Edmonton Oilers. Connor McDavid, he is a lot of fun to watch. So get in on the action and bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. So any winning $5 bet. So here's an easy one. Just bet against the Tigers because they lose every game. So bet on the opposition, and there you go. Bonus bets. Any $5 bet, that's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, you name it. But again, keep it simple. Bet against the Tigers, and you'll be glad you did. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn and make every playoff shot count. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, I'm loving the comments coming in, and I think again, especially on a night like tonight, where when you talk about the power outage, that's just I don't know how that happens. How does the production truck lose power? I actually was covering the game last year when this happened, so I had no idea because I was at the ballpark, and then there was rumblings in the press box of it happening that people weren't able to watch because obviously with social media and everything. And I thought, oh, that would be really really maddening if I was paying for a subscription or paying for whatever it is, cable, MLB TV, whatever it is, and you couldn't watch the game. I would be annoyed, upset. Although in tonight's case, maybe it was a blessing because we didn't have to watch the game. All right. A couple other people checking in on the YouTube. Christopher says, do you think we need a manager? Do you think we need to get new hitting coaches? Do you think we need to shake up somewhere in this organization? Yes to all of the above. No, I know it's easy to, in today's day and age, to scream into the microphone, get rid of this guy, get rid of that guy. But for what it's worth, and I know I wasn't on the ticket all the time, but when I was on, I was very, very clear in my level of awareness with AJ Hinch. I just didn't think he was this godsend, end all be all, the greatest manager to ever live, like a lot of people proclaimed him to be. I think he's a good manager, knows ball, obviously, has had some success, but it just didn't sit right with me the way, he was just given this, and maybe that's the wrong way to put it, but I do think he was deemed this can't miss manager because of the success he had with the Houston Astros. And nobody wanted to talk about the elephant in the room, that they cheated their way to that World Series. And what was, how much did that play a part in it? I tend to believe a lot. And so it just felt like from the very jump that we anointed AJ Hinch as this amazing hire, because we hadn't really had a long string of managers prior to AJ Hinch. And I just don't think the return on investment has played out. Now, I know he's dealing with a roster that's constructed poorly, in my opinion. And I know if you've tuned into the show regularly, I just can't stand the way Scott Harris chose to articulate his thoughts on constructing this roster, saying, pump the brakes on the expectations. I hate that. No, I want to win. This pitching staff is good enough to win. And I know the bullpen's been really bad lately, but this bullpen is really good. It had been really good. They've been bad lately. So between the starting rotation and the bullpen and defensively, other than some of those outlier games where the Tigers made a bunch of errors, but defensively, there's components of a winning team. And they're young guys. We got to be careful. We don't want to set ourselves up for disappointment. That's just no way to live. That's no way to compete. So I don't like the mindset of the front office. And maybe I'm putting too much stock into one interview with Scott Harris on MLB Network early in the season, but between AJ Hinch, between the hitting coaches, because who is it? Beauregard, and I'm blanking on the other hitting coach's name. Forgive me. It's been one of those nights, but I just think there's got to be a level of accountability, for goodness sakes, because you and I and everybody on our Locked On Tigers postcast right now can't want to win more than the team, more than the front office, more than the owner. I mean, this is a payroll that has been well below league average consecutively. And when Mr. Ilitch was around, it was a top 10 payroll in baseball. And I'm not saying you just have to spend to win, but going back to what the debate on Twitter was earlier today on Tigers Twitter with some of the guys from the ticket, it was about spending. 9 of the last 10 World Series champions have been well above the league average in payroll. And it's a simple benchmark barometer of what's the buy-in level? What is the care level? I mean, if you don't want to pay anybody, you don't want to care, you just want to meander through this season with a lackluster roster, then that's what it appears it is. So that's the frustrating part. So Christopher, I hope that answers your question. Do we need a new manager? Do we need some new hitting coaches? Shake something up? Yes to all the above, but it is a long season, 162 of these. We've hit a rut, 5-game losing streak. Maybe there will be a spark to somehow change the tide before it's too late. Demetrius McNeil, appreciate you tuning in. He writes in that's 3 consecutive games without a home run. Scott Harris is the responsibility for the team's lack of offense. What's wrong with this team right now? I wish I knew. But I think that I don't want to rehash everything I just said, but you're exactly right. I mean, there's just no accountability with this team. It's just all, oh, well, we tried. They're young. Let's be gentle. Don't get too upset. And I'm not wired that way. I'm too competitive, and I want to root for a team like the Phillies that just go out and win games. The Phillies went 17-3 in a 20-game span. Can you imagine just hopping on every night? Oh, we win again. How much did we win by this time? I'm just so jealous. And if you're like me, you grew up with that with the Tigers. I mean, 2012 World Series team, playoffs, AL Central titles. I know they never won a World Series, but this is boring, low market or small market, low payroll, crappy baseball. And it sucks. It sucks. So, all right. I got to dial it back a little bit here. I'm starting to get a little bit worked up there, but, and I said I wasn't too. I right before I hit live on the stream, I just said, it's another loss, 5 games in a row. Don't get upset, but here we are. All right. We are going to, Yeah, and Caden Kiter makes a great point in the comments here. Oh, you mean back when the owner spent money? Exactly, Caden. Exactly. Yes. I feel like if you're watching on the YouTube right now, I feel like what the Michael Scott gif from The Office when he just two-hand bangs the hands on the table. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, exactly. You got to spend some money to win. And it's not as I'm not trying to insult anyone's intelligence by simplistically putting it, oh, spend money on a player and all your problems go away. Because look at what happened with Javi Baez. It's not that. There's so many layers to it. But at the core of a ownership and front office that cares is demonstrating the willingness to spend some money, to want to win. And there's just none of that. There's none of that. There's none of that. And it sucks. It sucks. All right. Thank you, Caden. Great comment. Great comment there. That's what it's all about. That's why the listeners of the Locked On Tigers postcast are the best. All right, we're going to wrap it up. One more segment to go. Stay with me here on Locked On Tigers postcast. Today's show made possible by Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports is Prize Picks. It's real simple. You pick more, you pick less, and you watch the winnings roll on in. We know the NBA conference finals are going on. The NHL conference finals are going on. Baseball's in full swing. So add a little spice to your viewing experience. And then I'll say it once. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. You got to add spice to watching Tigers games because they've lost 5 games in a row and they're just not fun to watch. So have some fun with Prize Picks. You simply pick more or less on 2 or more players' projected stats. You watch the winnings roll in. Super easy to use app, which is also really nice. Quick withdrawals, easy game plan, an enormous selection of players, stat types, and that's what makes Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions and special offers for the biggest moments in sports. They're always keeping it fresh, which I absolutely love. Also, with baseball season that going on right now, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $100 with just a few taps. It's really simple to play. Make your pick, submit your entry, less than 60 seconds. All you got to do, download the app today, use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. I'll say that a little bit slower. It's a first deposit match. So you put in 100, we put in 100. All you got to do is download the app today and use that code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, you pick more, you pick less. It's that easy. Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. All right. I haven't talked a ton about this game, and I'm sorry if you want the X's and O's breakdown. 9-1 final. It was tied at 1 after 6 innings when Wenzel Perez had that RBI single. Carson Kelly was thrown out at home. I like sending him there, 2 outs, and this offense just struggles to get hits, so why not take a chance? I guess you could say he took the bat out of Riley Green's hands, but it was a bang-bang play. You got to give credit to the center fielder for the Blue Jays, Kevin Kiermaier, with that throw home because he put it right on the money. And I think Carson Kelly scores on that 8-9 times out of 10. And again, we see what happened with the bullpen. I mean, the Blue Jays come back with 2 in the 7th, 3 in the 8th, and 3 more in the 9th. So it's probably a moot point, but still worth pointing out because I do like to talk a little bit of baseball and break down the game a little bit. But that's really all there is to break down. I mean, Jack Flaherty was good until he wasn't, but it's the same thing I've said all year. The margin of error for these poor starting pitchers is nothing. He gets hit with the loss. He's 1-4, but it's by definition a quality start. 6 1/3, 3 earned runs, and 2 of them coming on just a mistake he made at the end of his outing, where I think Adam Coleman pointed out in the comments he appeared gassed. So maybe you put that one on AJ Hinch and the manager. No, he can't do anything wrong. Don't forget about that. So that said, tomorrow it's Matt Manning Alex Manoah for the Blue Jays. Manning's 0-1, 4.88 ERA, 23 strikeouts. I would love to see him have some success because I've been calling for him to get a chance. So maybe tomorrow's the day. Friday night game. Because it's kind of wild. I feel like the Tigers haven't played a Thursday game in several weeks. So 4-game series with the Blue Jays here. But yeah, it's a double palms up, shrug of the shoulders. Another one, 5 straight losses for the Tigers. They haven't been competitive. I don't care what AJ Hinch says. They're not a competitive baseball team right now. It's a bad movie. If you don't want to watch, I completely understand. Time is precious. Time is money. We all get 24 hours in the day. And if you don't want to spend a portion of that watching bad baseball with a team that doesn't care, a manager that is what it is, and a front office that said pump the brakes on the expectations and ownership that doesn't spend, I'm not going to blame you, because make no mistake about it, that's what the Tigers are. And it sucks. I'm done with the crying and ranting, but I think that's how you break it down. And it's a long season, but it's going to get really, really long here in the dog days of summer if things don't change. So studs and duds, I guess we'll go through that because I said we would. Wenzel Perez gets the RBI, and his body of work since being called up is really, really good. And if you had to cherry pick some positives from the season, that would be among the few. The starting pitching and Wenzel Perez. That's really about all I got. So one more RBI for him tonight, nearly 2, but Kelly was thrown out at the plate. Duds, I'm going to go with the bullpen. Flaherty got knocked around. 3 earned runs in an inning and 2/3 work. He did not give up the home run. It was Mason Englert that got knocked around a little bit. And I'm glad we did this because I had it in my notes to say, and we've got a couple of minutes left. But if you hadn't heard by now, Alex Lange was sent down to AAA after that little meltdown. Apparently, I was trying to find the video. There's no video of it because apparently Bally was at a commercial break and they didn't catch him throwing a ball in wildly intentionally into the backstop that a ball boy had to go chase down. And then if you saw the interaction with AJ Hinch, and normally, again, if you're watching on the YouTube, they put the glove over their lips so you can't read the lips, and then the manager does the same. But and it was there to read the lips, and a lot of people on X that are expert lip readers saying that he was really, really upset. And then less than 24 hours later, Alex Lange is sent down. So I don't think that's any coincidence. And Alex Lange hadn't been very good, so maybe he can get some confidence back in AAA. But I sound defeated. I feel defeated. I'm sorry. I'm just going to call it how it is. Oh, man. Oh, Kevin 81. Don't do that. Can we win a game, please? Yeah. Tomorrow's the day. New day tomorrow, guys. I wish I could say I can feel it, but again, this is the part that no fan base or franchise should ever want to reach, where you're so bad you don't care and you lose the fans. From people that were at the game tonight, heard that there was probably more Blue Jay fans than Tiger fans, and that sucks. It is what it is, but I guess that happens quite a bit it definitely happens when the Wings play at home against the Maple Leafs, because all those Canadians just come on down and invade the stadium. But it's not like the Blue Jays are great either, but still an early season. Memorial Day on Monday. I heard Locked On Tigers today with Scott Bentley, him talking about that being a good checkpoint progress report, if you will, and the Tigers progress report, especially for the month of May. Woof, yuck, yikes. But that's going to do it for me. Don't forget, we've got the Locked On 24/7 stream. That's right, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. I sometimes break that rule. I'm sorry. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Check out Locked On Tigers with Scott Bentley. And appreciate you tuning in for Locked On Tigers POSTCAST, one-stop shop for instant reaction following Tigers games. Subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit on YouTube, because we'll be doing this for Lions games, Pistons games, and so on and so forth. So thanks so much. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and have a wonderful evening. You guys rock. The Tigers do not. They don't care. But hey, we will put on a brave face and continue to get through it. So have a wonderful night, everybody. Talk to you soon.